Good afternoon, Stephen. This video is long overdue. I acknowledge that. It's been forever since I made a video, but better late than never. The whole point of this channel is to use the power of the internet and the connected world that we live in today to replace the conversations that you and I used to have face to face. And back in the day when we were living in the same city or living in the same apartment, a new Star Wars movie coming out would have spawned an entire week's worth of conversations. We would have been discussing it scene by scene, discussing all the character development. So instead of doing a back and forth conversation like we normally would, today I'm going to basically be doing my half of what the conversation would be, which I understand is going to be basically turning into a long, overdrawn, extended monologue. But I'm hoping to at least get all of my thoughts out there, and then you can respond in turn however you choose to do so. So the question becomes, how do I go about doing this? I thought about going scene by scene, location by location in the movie, just in chronological order. But I think instead I'm going to go character by character. I think it's actually going to end up being shorter if I do it that way. So that's what we're going to do. So let's just dive right into it. First character we see in the movie is Poe Dameron. For all intents and purposes, he's the face of the Resistance. He does exactly that. He is likable, he is funny, he's cocky, he's exactly what you would want to see in the Resistance fighter. I mean, I like him well enough. He's pretty much a two-dimensional character, so there's not going to be a ton of shocking developments in his character in the movies to come, I don't think. Next character we see, and I don't even think they say his name in the movie, is Lor San Tekka. He's the character on Jakku, the old man that gives Poe the location of Luke. Lor San Tekka's part in the movie is very short-lived, for obvious reasons, but I feel like there's a lot of backstory with that character because for some reason he knows Luke because he knows his location. He knows Leia back from when she was Princess Leia instead of being the general or commander or whatever she's in this movie. So the question becomes, are we supposed to just take his identity at face value, what we're presented with by the movie? He's just an old man who used to be part of the rebellion or maybe is still part of the Resistance, and now he's living alone, secluded on a desert planet in the middle of nowhere? Or is there something more to his backstory? And it's worth mentioning that this is also where we meet BB-8, which is just kind of the comedic relief, adorable little character that everybody wants to own and love and all that good stuff. Much better attempt at creating a humorous character than they did in the new trilogy. And so now we're still on Jakku, and we are introduced in the movie to basically the character who is the embodiment of evil in this new series of Star Wars movies. And talking about Kylo Ren is launching a discussion about one of the two most questionable, or at least question-spawning characters in the entire movie. And basically all the questions about Kylo Ren can be summed up or dumbed down to, what do we believe about Kylo Ren? And so option one is, do we believe the Kylo Ren that is presented to us by the movie itself? Because if we do, this is where we stand. Kylo Ren was formerly Ben Solo. He was Han and Leia's son. He was part of the Jedi Academy being trained by Luke at some point. He quit. He joined the First Order, and now he is, or at least wants to be, the scourge of the galaxy. First question that comes to mind is, why did he quit the Jedi Academy? I mean, it's Star Wars, so the smart money is on the dark side tempted him or whatever like that. But typically, the dark side tempting someone is not an abstract idea. Like usually it's embodied by something. Like in Episode 3, Anakin was tempted verbally by Palpatine, and then mentally by the visions of Padme's death, and then Luke was tempted by the dark side in Episode 6 by Darth Vader, verbally, again. So is it as simple as Kylo Ren was tempted by Supreme Lord Snoke, the hologram guy in the movie? Or was it something more complicated than that? Did he have a falling out with Luke, or the Jedi teachings, or did he have a falling out with his parents, or did he find something out about his sibling that we don't know anything about yet? I mean, something had to happen. I think it's going to be a combination of things happening in his life and Supreme Leader Snoke taking advantage of that. Anyway, let's back up for a second and look at Kylo Ren in a different way. Let's look at another option for him. What if the movie's not to be believed? What if all of that is a lie and he's actually an undercover agent working for the Resistance but infiltrating the First Order? I mean, to be fair, I haven't done a lot of outside research, but this seems to kind of be one of the more accepted theories of Kylo Ren, even though I listed second. But even though a lot of people subscribe to this theory, I don't see a lot of solid evidence in the movie that supports it. I mean, primarily you can look at the conversation that Kylo Ren has with his dad, Han, right before he kills him, and basically read between the lines of that entire speech, and you see Kylo Ren double talking, and instead of saying, "I'm so sorry I have to kill you, Dad," it's more of, "Please let me kill you, Dad. I need to solidify my place in the First Order, and if I don't kill you, they're never going to believe that I'm truly evil." And then on top of that, he seems conflicted every time he has to do something evil in the movie, but you would see inner conflict in his character anyway because he's a good guy turning bad guy, and you'd always have that good guy in him trying to pull him back. So, I mean, regardless of whether he's a double agent or not, you're going to see an inner conflict. And you actually see this inner conflict come out when he's monologuing and talking to the Darth Vader mask. I listened to those conversations several times trying to like infer some sort of double meaning and seeing that he's actually undercover, but it's very hard to pick up on anything secret in there. And another random theory about Kylo Ren is that Supreme Leader Snoke, the hologram guy in the movie, is actually Kylo Ren from the future. People made up this theory because Snoke has a scar on the side of his face that actually coincides with the scar that Kylo Ren gets at the end of the movie when Rey cuts him with the lightsaber. But I think that theory is silly. I mean, I can see why people would say that, but Snoke looks so alien and so non-human that it's just very hard for me to subscribe to that theory. I don't believe that at all. So, summarizing all of this Kylo Ren information, what do I think, Steven? Actually, more importantly, what do you think? But it's my video right now, so I'm going to say what I think. I don't think that he's a double agent. A lot of people do, but I just think that's such an obvious movie device to make the bad guy actually a secret good guy. It just seems so obvious that I'm actually thinking that he actually is trying to be evil and is trying to be part of the First Order, but I think it's more complex a situation than we realize. I think that in the future movies, whatever caused him to split from the Jedi Academy, whatever story is there, is actually fairly a complex storyline, and that's going to resurface and be fleshed out in the future movies. In the end, I do think that he's going to come back to the light side and, like, you know, break down the First Order and all that good stuff, but I don't think he's actually secretly a double agent. So now we're finally done, for now, with Kylo Ren. Next character we need to talk about is Finn. Finn's the stormtrooper in the movie who leaves the First Order and joins the Resistance. I love Finn. I love what he brings to the movie. He has a great energy. He has a great sense of humor, great comedic timing. I love that he wields a lightsaber. I think that's a super cool touch to add. One issue that I have with Finn is that I do not get where his sense of humor comes from. They say pretty succinctly in the movie that they didn't use clones for the First Order stormtroopers. They used instead kids that they raised from birth as soldiers. So if that's true, and Finn was raised from birth as a soldier, then he should be very like militaristic in his dialogue and very stiff and very formal and all that kind of stuff. Instead, he's like, you know, a kid with a smart mouth and a good sense of humor. So I don't get where that came from. And now the only other character I really need to speak at great length about is, of course, Rey. I mean, I love Rey. Anybody who's seen the movie absolutely loves Rey. So in the past in Star Wars, we have experienced the strong female character, but they've always come from a place of privilege. Padme came from royalty on Naboo. She was the queen of Naboo. And Leia was Princess Leia. She came from the wealthy Organa family on Alderaan. So with Rey, you get somebody who is assertive because she basically raised herself and had to assert herself, and all of her conversations are with smugglers and with lowlifes of Jakku. And she is strong and can fight because she had to fight to survive her entire life. So obviously we love Rey, but let's get into the questions that surround her. First of all, who is she? And I mean, like, in the context of the Star Wars universe, who is she? I mean, she has the Force, so chances are pretty high that she's going to be related to somebody we know. She's either Luke's daughter, or she's one of the Solo kids. There's an argument to be made for either one, so let's just do them individually. Luke being her dad kind of seems like it would be the obvious choice of the two choices. Because first of all, she has such an obvious innate connection to his lightsaber. And if you'll notice, whenever she's battling with Kylo Ren near the end of the movie, you'll notice that there are little snippets of music that aren't necessarily Luke's theme, but they are little bits of music that whenever she's having a Force moment, it plays a music that's usually associated with Luke in past movies. But then here's the question. If she is Luke's daughter, does Luke know who she is? I mean, if he had a daughter, obviously, chances are he would know about it, but does he know that Rey is his daughter? At the end of the movie, when Luke sees Rey for the first time, I mean, he doesn't exactly look like a dad seeing his long-lost daughter for the first time in his life. He's not making that expression, like, pretty much at all. No, at the end of the movie, he's more got the look on his face like the master Ben Kenobi is waiting for his student, young Luke. Or I guess that's actually more Yoda waiting on Dagobah for Luke, but master meeting apprentice, that's more the look that he has at the end of the movie. So then if she's not Luke's daughter, then the other option would be that she's one of the Solos. She kind of seems like a little miniature female version of Han. When they first meet, they're kind of butting heads, and she's real mouthy, she's a good pilot, she likes the Falcon, she gets along with Chewbacca really well. But the giant hole in that theory is that none of the Solos know who she is. I mean, Han definitely doesn't know who she is when he meets her for the first time. Leia doesn't, I don't know about Leia. Leia doesn't seem to know who she is or doesn't seem to have any recognition. And Kylo Ren or Ben, when he's fighting her near the end of the movie, doesn't seem to recognize who she is at all. But just because that's a hole in the theory doesn't mean there aren't ways to explain away the fact that they don't know her. Like when Kylo Ren was born, it's very possible that he was taken away from Han and Leia to go off to the Jedi Academy and be trained by Luke. And I mean, if that happened to him, there's nothing to say that that couldn't have happened to Rey as well. And then it's possible that if Kylo Ren was taken away and Rey was taken away at different times in their lives, they might not even know that the other exists. But a lot of people notice when they watch the movie that Rey doesn't say she's waiting for her parents. She says she's waiting for her family. When I think family, I wouldn't think of a mom and a dad waiting. I would think mom, dad, and a sibling. But then, just like everything, there's ways to explain that away. She could have been left on that planet by anybody else and been told by whoever left her there, your family will come back to get you. And of course, if that's the line of thinking we're going in, then that's possible that Lor San Tekka, the old guy at the beginning of the movie, maybe that's why he was doing on Jakku. That would make sense. If he was an old member of the rebellion and he's on this random village and on some random planet, but just happens to be on the same planet as Rey, who we think has like ties to the rebellion family-wise, familial ties to the rebellion, maybe he's on that planet to do kind of a Ben Kenobi thing with Luke, where Lor San Tekka is watching over Rey. But then that could go either way. Lor San Tekka being on the planet watching over her, she could be either Luke's daughter or one of the Solo kids. More likely, I think, to be one of the Solo kids. I mean, the movie seems to hint so strongly as like, she's Luke's daughter, she's Luke's daughter, she's Luke's daughter. I think that it's going to end up being the second most obvious. They're both obvious choices, but I think it'll be the second most obvious choice of the two. I think she'll be one of the Solo kids. So we mentioned Luke, but now let's talk about Luke. Steven, I know you hate Luke, so I'll try to keep this brief. Biggest question with Luke is, what is up with Luke? For some reason, everybody's looking for him and has to find hints or clues to his location in the galaxy. So if everybody's looking for him and having to find hints to his whereabouts, that tells me that he didn't disappear voluntarily. It seems more like he did it either because he was forced to or because he had to out of necessity because of some unfolding of unfavorable circumstance. Namely, that would be whatever happened with Kylo Ren and the Jedi Academy. However that unfolded, that may have necessitated him to go on this isolated planet. Or maybe he was taken captive by the First Order and left on that planet to die, although they seem unlikely that they would just exile him to a planet and not expect him to actually survive. I think they would actually kill him if they wanted him dead. I don't think he's there because he wants to be there. I think he's there because he's either being forced to be there or because he needs to be there. And it's hard to tell how much stock to put in the acting of Mark Hamill because we don't know how much of the story they actually know. And so at the end of the movie, you have to really look at Luke's face and ask yourself, what expression is he trying to portray? He doesn't seem to be grateful. He doesn't seem to be grateful that he's finally being rescued and that I thought I was going to die, but oh look, rescues come for me. He doesn't give up that vibe. And he also doesn't look even remotely surprised. He doesn't look like, what did somebody do? I was trying to hide from you guys. I'm so surprised that you found me. He looks troubled, but he also looks just a little bit sad. He also doesn't look like he recognizes who Rey is at all. He just kind of looks like, well, you're here. Let's get on with it. It's just such a weird expression. It's not one that you would expect on somebody who everybody's looking for, and then we finally found him, and he makes that expression at Rey, although that was a weird scene. That's my least favorite scene in the entire movie, when they finished the movie with a helicopter shot of that final scene, because certain helicopter shots are done really well, but certain helicopter shots, like the one at the end of the scene, was so clearly done from a helicopter, like the way it's kind of shaking and circling them. I don't know, I think it broke the fourth wall, where we're trying to say, like, I'm in the moment, I'm on this planet with these characters, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, no, now I'm in a helicopter, like, circling a movie set. I hated that. I couldn't stand that at the end of the movie. But still a very good movie. Steven, this was a very long video. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but this video was, how long now? 2 months? It came out 2 months ago? 2 months overdue. I've been waiting to make this video, been trying to make the time to make this video, so I've had all these thoughts going around in my head for 2 months, and more importantly, I want to hear your theories. I want to bounce theories back and forth, because I mean, we've got some time before the next movie comes out, so plenty of time to discuss it, no rush, but I hope you make a video soon, and I'll see you later. Bye.